Hello guys, it's Tankmas and welcome to what will be my first scripted rant. So at first I wanted this to be a building tutorial due to the fact I want to do a series of them, more on that later, but I really need to talk about something. This video will be, if you haven't noticed by the title, about the hashtag levelution, what it is, what it means for GD, and my personal opinion on the movement. So, the levelution is a movement started by the famous creator Optical that he introduced in a RANT video on the 16th of February. This video allowed Optical to talk about some concerns he had about the creative side of GG recently, and some issues he wanted to address. In the paragraph he wrote, he explains that, in his opinion, people are forced to do big projects by the community that require really hard work, just so most of the time they are bashed because it wasn't their best or wasn't as memorable as their other levels. Meanwhile, most good levels lag or even are unplayable in certain devices. The solution is, as he puts it, to lower our standards so famous creators can produce more levels with less objects but more creativity, and so it's easier for little creators to develop and become more popular. Note that he doesn't say to stop the big projects, he just asks to have less of them in favor of more levels. He says that it will lower the pressure creators have on their back when they always need to surpass their other works to be considered good, and will prevent the one-hit wonders that are only remembered because of one level. First off, I need to say that I have many issues with this project, not only with its execution but also with its message, but I'll say more about that later. The movement is kinda new, so there aren't a lot of levels that came out yet that use the concept it sparked. However, it quickly became a quite controversial topic due to the opinions everyone has over it. The video spread like wildfire, creating debate all over the community. Two distinctive sides quickly appeared with their own points and rebuttals to prove they were correct. While a vast part of the community were against the revolution, the part defending it is still big and contains huge names such as Serpunch and Felix Ram being in favor of the movement. As for the points each group makes, there are some good and bad ones for both, but I'll get to that later. Also, some people started calling out Optical for using this movement as a shield against criticism and the fact he is becoming lazy, to which he didn't respond. As I stated earlier, the amount of levels created within the movement is really low, so the expectations and the norm for this type of levels is very unclear for now, with many saying it will take no effort to make this kind of levels, and that it's threatening the overall quality of the levels we get, to the point it will eventually become a quantity over quality thing. So this is a part of the video that will be controversial, because no matter what I'm about to say, it will piss off a good chunk of the people following the quote-unquote debate. So am I pro or against the revolution? So for a quick answer, if you just wanted my opinion, I'm against it. Now I'm going to go deeper about why I think like that and why the revolution might be, at a long term, a bad thing for the GD community. So first off, let's address some things. Number 1. A creator should never have to justify himself for making levels that require less effort than usual. If your fans find that one of your levels is worse than your average ones, but you intended it to be that way, then just don't care about what they say. No matter how good your level is, you'll always receive some backlash, justified or not. I'm not telling you to ignore criticism though, just that if you don't try as hard with one level, then you'll get called out for it. Because of the incredible pedestal some people can hold you up to, then it's normal that they won't always be satisfied by what you have to offer. It's just common sense. Number 2. The lag issue. The lag issue is just not an excuse. You and everyone knows the core problem with the lag is that most of the creators don't know how to do a proper low detail mode. And it's not something that can be worked on. If we sensibilize the community to that problem, then it will be fixed in no time. Also, the fact that you brought up this shitty excuse and made it one of the main points of the revolution make the whole movement that much less credible. Number 3. The fact that creators are quitting because of the pressure is a serious issue. To that, I agree that this issue needs to be fixed, as the community can really crush talented creators by putting way too much weight on them. It ties in with another big problem we have as a whole. We are in this community way too much entitled. By that I mean that unnoticed creators think they are way better than the rest, and that's Robstop's fault for not having their unnamed 14 not being featured. At the other end of the spectrum, well-known creators all think everyone expects too much of them, creating big projects. That leads to a big misunderstanding that divides the community in two. To that we must add that every player expects way too much of some creators and of some verification projects, meaning that nerfs or cancellation makes half the community mad most of the time, and some creators just fear to do that nowadays because of the backlash. But that's a story for another day, I think. So, I think that the idea behind the revolution is good, but the only and really big problem that it has is its execution. That though is just if it isn't just a justification for Optical to hide the fact that he doesn't want to invest time and effort in his levels anymore. So, to confirm that, we just named him to respond to the comments calling him out, so we'll see in the future. Now, something everyone in this debate needs to understand is just let the movement grow for now, and then when you fully understand what it's all about, then and only then will you be able to have a proper opinion over it and to judge if it's good or not. However, there's a big issue I have with this movement that could really be really negative to the creating community as a whole, and that I think not enough people have talked about. So yeah, let's go about the big bad part of the revolution. So one of the main concerns Optical seems to have with our contemporary community is that it has standards that are way too high, and his solution is pretty simple. Just lower them. Well, you see, that's where lies the biggest problem of Optical's plan. He didn't take into consideration why the standards were high in the first place. If you were around to play when the 2.0 update was released in about a time frame of 4 months, you would have seen that the quality of the gameplay at the time was horrible. It was then that, for the first time, the community united to raise its standards. Of course, it was hard to adapt at first, but then we got used to it, and look, nowadays it's almost hard to find a level with bad gameplay. Then, if you played around mid to late 2.0, you would have noticed that the quality of levels was awful. Most of them were generic, but really the bad kind of generic, and were really easy to make. At one point it became so unbearable that the community united once again to raise its standards. And that's where we are now. So I think that we are in a period of transition. Yes, there are still generic levels, but they take more effort than before to be rated because our standards are higher, and it puts much more weight onto the creators' back. But I think once the transition is finished, our overall level quality will be higher and everyone will be used. So, like it or not, we are in a period where we need to keep our standards high to prevent a mid 2.0 like era to happen again. And that's why, while having no bad intentions in the first place, Optical's levelution is going to be disastrous if it gets big. I mean, look, Dear Nostalgist could be a levelution level. Why? Because it has not much objects and it's an original concept. See? There are ton of loopholes in the levelution where bad levels can hide. And while the original concept is good, the execution is heavily flawed, and when the levelution tries to address problems, it just barely manages to solve the problem it finds, and most of the time it even makes things worse. So ultimately, the levelution is good on paper, but its execution is really the low point it has. And really, I hope Optical learns from these mistakes to try and create a better movement. Anyway, those were my 2 cents on the whole situation. I hope you liked this video. It's my first try as doing this type of content, so it will definitely improve from there in terms of quality. If you did like it, please leave a like and subscribe. Please comment your opinion down below. I'll try to respond to as many people as I can. I might even do a comment comeback type of vid if some interesting points are made. Tell me how to make my future content better by leaving constructive criticism in the comments, or even hitting me up on my Discord. My tag is in the description. Please share this video if you found it helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.